Good. See if we can get a little bit more stretch through the top line there, starting out. I like to start in the stretch each time when we do that. It helps to set the stage for relaxation. Good. And then we come into the connected or collected shoulders in. Nice. That's great. You feel her change balance. Coming down then the center line. We'll stay in the shoulders in for a few strides. There. And then we'll change bend and ask the haunches to track to the right. Make sure you're focusing your torso down the center line. Yes, a little more connection there with that left rein. There. Feel her start to swing the body and change the bend. Good. And then back into the shoulders in, allowing a little more of the stretch in the shoulders in. Yes, nice job. As you release that outside rein, you feel her just start to reach and stretch. And now we make the volt. Nice. Followed then by the half volt. Always be aware of your focus and the positioning of your torso. Torso really gives the horse a signal for where we want to head. Nice. Now let's change and ask the haunches to come to the left. Connect the outside rein. Keep your torso straight down the line. Change her bend to left bend. Yes, there's a good balance shift right there. Nice. And then back to the stretching shoulder in. Good. And now we start to connect the shoulder in. Ask for collected shoulder in again, and we're going to come down the center line. Good. Yes, focusing up, focusing your torso where you want her to head. There. Good. So the shoulder was a little sticky there as we were coming through the corner, but she started to soften up better. Our focus has a huge influence on that. And then when you're ready, we'll halt. Nice. Well done. Really good. Really good. So you feel through that as you change your torso, right? It really influences her and helps her to understand where we want her to go. In our original position 1 and position 2, it's the changing of our torso that directs the horse for which position we're asking them for. And that's what really helps to translate into this work. So we want to think about it just like when we're riding. When you're riding, you're always trying to keep your torso heading where you want to go. It's the same thing here. And because of the position 1 and position 2, it's really easy for the horse to translate that and to understand where we want to go is where we're facing, or where we're facing is where we want to go. It's where we want that energy to flow to. That was really good. Particularly your haunches in as you came down the wall here. You felt maybe to start with there was a couple strides where she was, or a couple steps where she was a little hesitant, but then as you got that connection right, the front straightened and the haunches came in, and there was a much better rebalancing as she went. And that's really the important piece of that, is as they change in the bend, the balance is changing also.
Yeah. A question, when you're going from the stretching shoulder in to a collected shoulder in, I was trying to make the change just thinking about even kind of changing my upper body, and then I found I had to use just a little bit of like a kind of a tap to try to get her to step up. Is there anything else that I should have been doing? There were a few times I felt like I was almost pulling her up more than feeling her really step and lift up.
Yes, and that's pretty common. So what you already did is good, and then I'll play a little bit upward on the inside rein to release them, to release the base of the neck upward a little bit more to help the haunches to come through. Yep. So everything that you were doing as far as increasing your presence, right, by lifting your torso like you were talking about doing, tapping the hind leg just lightly. Some horses we might need to do a little more than others depending on the natural forward engagement. But saying, yes, think about your hind leg, step a little deeper, and then that's received into the hand. If we think about it, that's our proper half halt, right? We add our body, we add our leg, which in this case is the whip, and then we recycle through the reins, right? The proper half halt. So it's the same thing here from the ground. You're changing your body, you're adding the energy, and you're recycling through the reins. Mm-hmm. Nice. Nice. Good. And then have the stick on top as a way to rest. So the halting, halting through the steady contact. Good. Good. And it's pretty important starting out too, that as we do this and as we ask for this, we allow them to lower and stretch a little bit more. So there's a perfect opportunity for our rein back. Good. Yes. Yeah, we want to think is really what's going to happen is as we stretch the neck here to here, that's going to really help us get more activity and movement here. Okay. So as we begin to ask, especially at the beginning, we want to think step, step, stretch and release. Step, step, stretch and release.
Okay.
Yes. Good. Absolutely. Nice. Yes. And then from here, I'd take her for a little walk, right? It's important when we're schooling the Piaffe, when we're playing with the idea of schooling the Piaffe at least, especially at the very beginning, that we do a minute or two and then we release them. And something that I find oftentimes happening, we tend to get a little too focused on it. It's really easy to overcook, right, when we're starting to do this. If we do too much, then we're going to add anxiety to the horse, okay? So now I know you've schooled this a little bit with her already. If this was her first session, we would be done at what she already just did, okay? We want to make sure that these sessions are short and sweet, almost thinking about them as rewards, right? Oh, look, everything's great and relaxed and soft and quiet. Let's pick up your feet a little bit. Let's do this work, and then we'll be done. So that we introduce it not as, okay, now we've got to really hyper concentrate. We're going to do something hard. No, we want to let them think this is a reward, basically. When things are easy, hey, let's tackle these couple steps, and then have the break. Yep. It's the same thing when we're schooling it under saddle. We want to think about asking for it when things are easy, when things are relaxed, so that we can present it as more of a reward for them than anything. Yep. Good. Good. Yep. Nice. So you feel right there. She said, oh yeah, okay, I'm picking up on this. And so now we might say 2 or 3 times, each leg lifting, and then asking for the stretch. Nice. Good. Yeah, nice. Let's play here with the rein back piece. We'll ask her to rein back. And what we want to focus on, to me, I think about the rein back as a gait, right? Backing up is a movement, but the rein back itself is a gait, just like the walk, trot, or canter. And I think of it that way because the quality of the rein back is really important, just like the quality of a horse's walk or trot or canter is really important. And I find that riders don't spend enough time focusing on the rein back, okay? Mostly because it's hard, Because the horse resists, because they get a little uncoordinated, and so they just kind of avoid it. If our trot was as bad as most horses' rein backs, we'd be spending a lot of time in trot to fix it, but we tend to avoid the rein back, okay? Now what we want to think about is we want smoothness, we want the roundness and softness through the top line, we want the diagonalization of the horse's legs, and we want to feel kind of a sitting behind and a lifting of the base of the neck, so engagement. Proper rein back really is the first true steps of collection that a horse would ever feel because of the way the weight rocks back to the haunches, okay? Starting out, we're going to be pretty slow with the presentation of it, and we might just get the rocking back, right? And we'd release on that. We talk about those intrinsic muscles, right? If we activate the intrinsic muscles for the rein back and the horse goes into that smooth, then we'll carry that into the rein back, okay? And to begin with, like I said, it might just be that rocking back. It might just be 1 or 2 steps. Ultimately, I'd like to be at the point where I could get 6 or 8 smooth steps at a minimum before I would halt, okay? I would want to feel like I could be walking forward and my horse is walking backward beside me along the wall or down the arena. Not that I'm rushing, right? But this work with a pee-off, we want to be sure that we can be smooth. Right now my horse is walking to me as I'm walking backwards, and then he's walking backwards as I'm walking to him. Not in a rushed way, but just in a very smooth way. Okay, so let's see if we can tackle that. Yeah, there's good preparation right there. Yes, and so we see how she's a little bit crooked in there, okay? That's really common when we're not quite diagonalized or we're not quite through with the energy, okay? When that happens, I want to think I'm going to continue going backwards until the horse starts to get all of those pieces together so that they straighten out, okay? Keeping that in mind, you might rein back 16 laps, or you might go backwards 16 laps around the arena before you get a few good rein back steps, okay? Depending on the horse's history and past training or learning, they may have never given a proper rein back in hand or on the ground, right? So they're going to go with what they think they're right about. They want to go with the idea that they think is correct. And so it might take, like I say, several laps. Probably won't, right? But you might find yourself going the whole length of the wall before you get a couple really good consecutive steps of that rein back. That's way better. Feel the difference in the flow right there. Yeah. So really the only thing I can see from here that I would want to change is I'd want the base of the neck a little bit more elevated in that, okay? But the flow of that rein back was really nice. Good. So think with your left hand about a little bit of a lift as we come backwards. Yes, feel the difference right there. It's not even as much of a visual difference as it is you can feel the change in your hand, okay? What I want to think about is the orientation of how I'm asking for that energy in the rein back, okay? Oftentimes, riders will take the rein or the lead rope kind of downward toward the horse's chest. Well, that does nothing but drop the base of the neck, right? I want to think more angled upward toward the withers, which makes more sense to where our hands are going to be when we're riding anyway, okay? I want to think about feeling C5, the core of the cervical, right, that we talked about in the anatomy sessions. I want to feel that start to lift, okay? And the horse's withers will lift when that happens also because of that activation of the serratus muscle that lifts the thoracic sling. Okay. Yes, feel a difference right there. Yeah. Absolutely. And how much smoother that is from there. Yeah. That to me is more of our proper rein back idea. Okay, little dragging still with the front feet, but that's going to change. That might take her a couple sessions, but that's going to come through pretty quick. Okay. I like that look on your face when you felt her kind of shift back into that. And it happens so often whenever I'm teaching clinics and such, when somebody feels that proper rein back, whether it's in hand or under saddle, it takes on a totally different feel. And it's interesting to me how many smiles we get from that. Like, wow, that's what that feels like? Yeah, much nicer. Good. And when we talk about the idea of trotting forward, I wouldn't be asking for the trot forward until the rein back was really solid and good, as far as smooth, connected, engaged, and super subtle. You would feel, and I think you felt it in that moment when your eyes lit up, you would feel as though you don't have to have a hold of the rein, and she's going to flow backwards with you, right? It's like a proper dance partner, right? That's when that's consistent with that. That's when then I'll ask for the trot to come forward, okay? But I try to avoid it until that point, yeah, because then we just end up running into more resistances, right? If the rein back isn't smooth, the half halt isn't going to be smooth. And that's a really important piece that I can't stress enough for our in-hand work, for our ridden work. If we don't have a proper rein back, okay, when we're talking proper, we're talking about activation of the intrinsic muscles, folding of the hind legs, an extensioning of the top line, okay, and that diagonalization of the legs. If we don't have all of those things proper and combined, we don't have a half halt. We have a lot of pulling on our horse, but we don't actually have a half halt. The idea of the half halt is to rebalance the horse, okay? The intrinsic muscles are the ones that rebalance the horse, okay? They're the ones that are focused on balance. So if we don't tap into the intrinsic muscles in our rein back, the first gate of rebalancing, basically, then we won't have a half halt, right? So again, why I can be a little bit obsessive about the development of our horse's rein back. Yeah. Cool.
It's good stuff.
Good.
A lot of stuff I can run with and work on.
Yeah, totally. And it's like we're doing here, it's a lot of little pieces. You know what I mean? Let's dink with this little piece here. Let's go do something else for 2 minutes. Let's go do this one for 30 seconds, you know, and those things all really start to come together, you know. Really cool. Really good stuff. Great job.